Hi, I'm Mikey Jeanson, a gameplay programmer with a background in Unreal Engine and C++. I've helped make several games including Your Average Bear, but now I'm a full-time UEFN developer, and this is Verse Boost. Welcome to the project, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the differences between subscribe and await. First things first, let's just go over a quick review of what subscribe and await do. Subscribe, you've seen this a lot probably if you're watching this video, but you provide a callback function. In this case it would be onTriggered, and then it is stored by the event owner and a cancelable is returned. And then when the event happens, the event owner, in this case the trigger, will call every callback function that is stored. So everything that's subscribed to the triggered event. Await is a lot different because it is actually suspending execution until the event occurs. There's no callback and there's no cancelable. So now we're back in Verse, just going over a quick example. We have this basic event device that has a trigger, and we have an option whether we're subscribing or awaiting. And you can see here that we have the type cancelable. Here, the interface, if we go look at it, it basically tells us what I said in the slides, but it allows you to cancel an operation. And for subscribe, that it is returning this unsubscriber object as it says, and you can call cancel on it to unregister the subscription. So I also made it so it subscribes more than once or awaits more than once, just so we can profile it in the end. You'll see that when we're in the game, when I walk over the triggered, it will hit the subscribe. But funny enough, if you look at it, I'm trying to subscribe 10 times, but for whatever reason, if you subscribe in the same spot right now, as of 3710, this will only subscribe once, even though I'm running a for loop and this should be happening 10 times. But when I'm running the same exact code with await, you'll see that it happens 10 times, so it's not an issue with that. I will say the issue of it not happening more than once isn't really a big deal, because most of the time you don't want to be subscribing more than once in this type of context. So I've added in this quick profile that will happen, and we'll see how fast the triggered event is handled after we call trigger. So if we look in our profile, we see that await takes about 7 milliseconds. And then in this case it says it's this, but I actually know that it's incorrect because it's only doing the one subscribe. So let me switch this up. So to run a proper test, I move my void listenable over here, and you can look at listenables I think in episode 5. But anyways, look at the code. This is basically what's going to be running. So you'll notice that with subscribe it's taking about 6 milliseconds, and then await it's taking about 12-13 milliseconds. So in this case we see that subscribe takes about 50% of the time that await does. So if you're really looking for speed, I recommend using subscribe. I also recommend using subscribe if you want to cancel it, if you don't want that subscription to be forever. However, I'm going to show you a way that you can kind of fake a subscription to an await function. Let me just show you what I mean. So here's my implementation of using await but having it be cancelable. You'll see here that I'm passing a type in at the start and then using an extension function to then have the type for the awaitable, the callback, and then we see this await cancelable. This is just a type alias that I'm using for a event with an empty payload. So you'll notice here I'm using race, and then I'm waiting for this cancel event that we're going to be passing in through. So we're going to create the cancel event, pass it through, and then that will kind of act as our cancelable. And then in the meantime, before we cancel it, we are going to just have a looping thing that waits for it and then calls the callback. So here's how we're going to be using that. You'll notice I added a few new variables. I added a cancel button for us to trigger the cancel in game, and I also added a flag here that we're going to just check at the start. But anyways, you'll see that I'm going to be using array comprehension. I'm going to be added to this list of cancelables, and the cancelable is not an actual cancelable. It is just using that await cancelable thing with the event with an empty payload, and we're going to be spawning the thread, and we need to define the type. So with the triggered event, right, it's going to pass us, let's scroll down here, a listenable with an optional agent. Okay, so that's why we need to pass this here, because that's letting our await subscribe function know what type everything is, right? So we put the optional agent, and then we pass in the event, and then we pass in the callback, and then we pass in our cancelable that we created. And then using array comprehension, we set cancelables. And then once we hit the cancel button, which we're going to await here, it will cancel all of our cancelables. And I made this extension function. You might have seen it when I went up here, but it's just to make it look cleaner, and you guys get it. So let's look how that works in game. So I'm going to walk over here. I'm going to step on my cancelable. It fires 10 times. It says subscribe. Just ignore that because it's calling on triggered, right? And that's why it's printing the subscribe. But then let's do it again. It happens multiple times, right? But then I hit the button. I didn't print any statement, but you'll notice now not canceling or not sending any more events. We cancel them. So if you want to use await, that is how I would recommend doing it. Alright, so that's pretty much the end of the video today, guys. Thanks to you so much for watching. If you guys learned anything, please leave a like, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.